Happy National Zucchini Day for those who are celebrating. My name's Bonnie Benwick, and I serve as Program Vice President of La Dame d'Escoffier, Washington, D.C. Regional Chapter. Welcome to the second in this year's series of occasional online events. Just so you know, La Dame d'Escoffier is a philanthropic organization supporting women in food and beverage-related careers through mentoring, grants, and scholarships. Our online events are geared to be interesting both to national and international members of La Dame d'Escoffier and to food enthusiasts everywhere, particularly including vegans today. Today's panel discussion will focus on plant-based food choices, both those offered on restaurant menus and on the home dinner table. You'll learn why vegan means business, and you'll also learn why vegan means value. In addition to a talk with our panel of 5 fabulous vegan pros, you've received a PDF of recipes, and I think you've also received an updated one, if I remember correctly, including a complete and completely rotten vegan meal from plant-based cocktails to vegan dessert. Ellen Cantor organized the event, raise your hand, Ellen, and serves as its discussion moderator. She is the Huffington Post Meatless Monday blogger, the syndicated columnist, The Edgy Veggie, cute name, and contributor to publications including Culinate, Bon Appetit, Every Day with Rachel Ray, as well as her own blog. Food books she's written include Feeding the Hungry Ghost and Edgy Veggie, Better Eating, Blissful Living, and The Broccoli State of Being. And now, please welcome Ellen Cantor.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Les Dames DC, for hosting this event, and welcome, welcome, everyone. We are so excited to be here, and as moderator, I get to introduce the all-star amazing Vegan Means Business panel. My sister DC Dame, Aviva Goldfarb, who is marketing maven for the DC area's coolest vegan restaurants, Chef Nina Curtis, a leader in plant-based cuisine and wellness, who last month curated the first ever plant-based White House state dinner, and Kathy Gold, chef, food writer, food stylist, recipe developer, owner of the In the Kitchen Cooking School, and Les Dames d'Escoffier first vice president. Fran Costigan, director of vegan pastry at Rouxbe Online Cooking School, author of Vegan Chocolate, and Vegan Pastry Queen. We are here to tell you vegan means business. We'll unpack what's driving plant power and how to make it both work for you and at your table. Thank you, Bonnie, for mentioning the start to finish vegan menu we have for you and the virtual swag bag of special offers from special vegan brands and vegan resources galore. We are here to get you to embrace plant power. But to do that, you have to understand it. So we want to demystify it for you too. So if you've got questions, please add them to the chat box and we will address them. Okay, Aviva, ready to start this party?
Hi, everybody. I see some familiar faces. I want you to raise your hand if you are not vegan. Oh, I can't see everybody's hands. I can't see everybody's faces. Well, I myself am not vegan. I am what I call veganish. And I guess how I define that is I eat mostly vegan, but I have exceptions. Oh, look, now I see a lot more hands. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. It's always tricky with these Zoom presentations because you don't have the vibe of the crowd, but it's fun to get a little participation and we definitely welcome it. But I am veganish, driven mostly by concerns about the climate and more often lately by animal welfare and my own health. And in fact, my cholesterol had gotten a little bit high. And from what I had learned in working in the vegan market, I decided to eliminate animal products almost entirely from my diet for a number of reasons. But what I was excited to see was that my cholesterol went down to normal levels after I did that. So I know that's a driving force for many of us in our decisions and our dietary decisions in general. In my professional life, I do marketing for vegan and non-vegan restaurants, bars, and bakeries. And one of the ways that I help them grow their sales is by helping them have more robust plant-based offerings, or encouraging them to, and then making sure that the vegan community and people who are interested in more plant-based options know about those options. And that's getting easier and easier to do. So to set the stage for our wonderful panel, I am sharing why I believe that the vegan market is such a powerful marketing opportunity for restaurants. As you can see here, climate, health, and animal welfare concerns have led to a surge of people seeking plant-based options. And you probably noticed that in your own life. With one in nearly every group that goes out to dine, vegan diners often drive group dining decisions. And restaurants and bars and bakeries are realizing that they need to have more robust vegan offerings to capture this market. It can't just be a salad and a pasta and sorbet for dessert anymore. And the effect of plant-based diet, even just one meal, is really astounding. And there have been so many studies, but there was a recent one by Oxford University that was reported in the New York Times and elsewhere that people who follow a plant-based diet account for about 75% less greenhouse gas emissions. And I guess if I was to ask you all to raise your hand, if you are at all concerned about our warming planet, I'm sure that just about every hand here would go up. And what is really interesting is the trends show that companies and consumers are responding. So 50% of restaurants, including 65% of fast casual restaurants, now have vegan options. And that's up 33% from 2018. And mainstream brands like Chick-fil-A, KFC, Taco Bell, Chipotle, Silver Diner, all have robust vegan offerings, from the Impossible Whopper to Chick-fil-A's new cauliflower sandwich that they're testing, unfortunately not in my market yet. And Chipotle has vegan sofritas. Even Taco Bell, the home of the greasy ground beef tacos, has a vegan menu on its site. So the consumer segments that are driving this growth are women and young people and Asian and Black communities. And it's more prevalent on the West Coast, followed by large cities. And what's interesting about this is where consumer trends begin, with women, with younger people, with people of color, with the coast, with large cities. And so we know that this is something that if it's getting more popular there, it's going to be getting more popular everywhere. And I'm sure we're seeing that. 14% of college students said they're vegan or vegetarian, and their primary driver is the climate. That's 17% of females. And that is rising rapidly as well. So restaurants and bars and bakeries can follow the lead of consumers and major restaurant brands and stay ahead of the trend to maximize their sales and their appeal to these extremely important consumer segments. And some of the ways they can do this are through vegan media like Veg News. And I know Ellen is a contributor to Veg News. We've worked together on that, which has grown to 1.3 million people visiting its website each month. Happy Cow, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, but it's something that's really important. It is how people who are traveling around the world know where to find vegan food. And it's an app that has really grown in popularity. It has millions of registered members and over 200,000 restaurant listings. And I don't know if you have heard of Veganuary, but it's getting more and more popular. It used to be a little fringe, and now so many restaurants are participating in Veganuary, which is vegan January. And just like dry January, it's something that's it's really crossed over into the more popular media. And then there's Veg Weeks, which are vegan restaurant weeks in various markets. I know where I live and work, in DC and Philadelphia, they have one. And I know they're even now in Phoenix and Providence and Richmond, Virginia, and Lancaster, Virginia. So it's another way for restaurants to see a marketing opportunity to get the word out to vegan restaurants. I'm currently talking to a historic El Salvadoran restaurant in Washington, DC, that now has a vegan menu. And once you have a vegan menu, then that's a great way to spread the word to the vegan community through Facebook groups and other marketing, Reddit and other marketing opportunities. So to wrap it all up, we know that there are some very popular celebrities who follow a vegan diet and are very outspoken about it. You can we won't actually take the quiz right now, but see how many of these you can name. And I'm going to stop my screen share and pass it back to you, Ellen. And if you have any questions about that, I'm so excited to answer them. Just put them in the chat and we will be fielding your questions.
I will say, Ellen, in the chat, somebody just noted that 1,400 mayors have just pledged vegan forward initiatives.
Wow, that's great to know. I need to add that to my slideshow.
Chef Nina, you want to take it from here?
Thank you. Let's see if I've got this right. Yay. Hello, everyone, and thank you, Les Dames, for inviting me and having me be a part of this because it's at a very exciting time. I've been vegan over 2 decades, and it's very exciting to be here with you and share this information. As it was stated, in June, actually June 22nd, was invited by First Lady Dr. Jill Biden to curate the first in the history of White House state dinners plant-based menu. And this was largely due to the guest, the Republic of India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, because he is a strict vegetarian. And a lot of times I find that people, when they look at food, and we are cooking food, vegan is food. There's the vegan diet and there's a vegan lifestyle. But what I do on the daily and what I've done for over 2 decades is cook food, and I'll share that with you. I'm going to veggie back, as I say, with a lot of things that Viva said, but it's going to be through my lens of actually experiencing it and being a part of it. And let me see if I got this. So vegan does mean business. And in 2022, President Biden held the first in 50 past years conference on hunger, nutrition, and health. And that led to an initiative that was a collaboration between the James Beard Foundation, the Independent Restaurant Coalition, the Plant-Based Food Association, and others to initiate this, getting vegan menus on restaurants across the United States. So I was on a webinar with other plant-based chefs and other people, White House officials were a part of it. So, when we talk about, and as Aviva said, we look at the fast food restaurants because they are there to make money. And when they see something happening, they're going to start, studying it. And usually you'll notice these fast food restaurants, of which in high school, I worked at McDonald's, Burger King, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. So while I've been a vegan over 2 decades, and my dad is a chef, and I started cooking at 8, I'm the eldest of 4. And my mom, let me just put it out there because she watches these things, is the best cook to me in the world. There are a lot of people looking at this lens, but I feel like I've been riding this wave and I'm very excited that people are taking note of it. So when we see, I think, state officials and state departments start taking initiative of it and but seeing the need to embrace it, this is what really happened with the June 22nd dinner. While I curated a menu that was all plant-based, there was a caveat on the menu that if guests, and there were 400 guests, felt the need to have protein, which there's protein in vegan fare, there was a sea bass. But I can tell you from being in the kitchen and with the number of guests due to the guest Prime Minister Modi, there were a lot of vegetarians already attending this. So when you say vegetarian, to me, being that vegan comes out of vegetarian, I already go, well, we've got all the allergens that people are concerned with now. So we're just going to take out the dairy and the eggs also. And because we have such great products today, no one was complaining. Actually, they were quite surprised, delightfully surprised. And I said to my mom, I made it to the White House, because that wasn't necessarily something that past years I even considered, just based on the nuances of the somewhat narrow space that I, felt I was in. My dad is not a vegan. And he was like, very early on, don't tell people you're vegan. You're my daughter. I'm in this industry. You know, I have to keep my respect. But he really embraces me now. And he and my mom have wonderful conversations about food you can imagine, along with the dinner being that the States, they say, is the oldest democracy, and India being the largest democracy. I hear, and I got proof, that my face has been all over the world, all over India. So I'm kind of have mixed feelings about that, but you know, that's likeness that we have to be concerned with. The dinner was a 3-course meal. That's what most of the state dinners are. Sometimes they're 4, but 3 courses is the main. And because the United Nations and the US have declared millets 2023, the year of millets, like today is, you know, the National Day of Zucchini. There's also then the food. And most of these days, you can find a vegetable or food every day of the year. If you look at your calendar, if you're looking for themes for marketing, and it's usually the food associations like the Mushroom Association, the Zucchini Association, because they know if they highlight it, it's not really just a vegan thing, it's a food thing. So here we took millets in the plate, the first course, and it was a marinated millet salad. Dr. Jill Biden wanted to show, and this is what state dinners are about, show the best that American cuisine has to offer. And I was just peering through the lens of plant-based. But if we really look at our food and we look at what's on the plate for any dinner, even if there is animal flesh, there is going to usually be the produce, the vegetables, the nuts, the seeds, the legumes, the grains, these things we know, but they've kind of taken a side, why they call them sides, but now they're taking front and center, right? So this salad was marinated with a white balsamic vinaigrette. It had silver corn, which is from the region, cherry tomatoes, English cucumbers. The base, if you look closely, had a tangy avocado sauce. So we're getting the good fat. We're getting the vitamins, it's nutrient dense, but as my dad would say, Nina, it better be delicious. There was yellow and red compressed watermelon. The yellow pretty much represented the saffron color of the Indian flag, and the red of the United States flag, and frisee and arugula. So at this level, food is very political. We know it's the case, but there were a lot of messages weaved through the services. Chef Chris, as we speak of her, Christata Comaford, is the first executive chef in the history of White House chefs, and she's been there 28 years. So I felt like we were really having a herstory, H-E-R moment. And the main course was a risotto with saffron. So we took influence from Indian cuisine, and then again, local produce, which was really nice to serve. And then here I worked in collaboration with both Chef Chris and Chef Susan Morrison, who is the first female executive pastry chef in the history of the White House. And she's been there just shy years of Chef Chris. But we did the pastry. One of my favorite childhood pastries that my mom used to make was strawberry shortcake. So here we took the strawberry shortcake. My mom used to make a pound cake, but again, with 400 people and those of us in catering, you really have to think about the menu with how food is going to hold, how it's going to be presented. So there's a lot of other thought processes when you've got this volume of food. I understand that most state dinners are about 200 people. So we doubled again, talking about the largest democracy. So we infused cardamom into the biscuit. And then we marinated the strawberries with rose syrup because these things are very prevalent. And there were other accents of Indian cuisine throughout the menu, but I'm just highlighting here. We did pistachios toasted, like shredded, and then we had candied lemon zest. And then Chef Susie, she specializes in sugar pull. She made the flag, both flags, the United States and India's flags, and that coming together, because this meeting was so much about reestablishing the bonds and, you know, the commitment to both of these community society. So that was, I hear, really well taken. People asked, did I meet the president? Did I meet Prime Minister Modi? No, I fed them. I went in there as a civil servant, and they know more about me than I know about myself, because you're not walking in the White House unless they've done their work about you. So the goal here was to go in and be of service, and it really paid off positively. When we come back to local, I'm from Los Angeles, but I've relocated for business past 5 years now to Sacramento. And, you know, most of us know that Sacramento touts itself as farm to fork capital. And so this is an annual dinner that takes place. This is the 10th anniversary this year, which I'll be a part of. But last year, I was one of 5 lead chefs, the only female chef and the only vegan chef. And they curate this dining experience on this Tower Bridge dinner, this yellow bridge that stands out when you come into Sacramento. We served 850 guests, and it's a 5-course meal. I was the first course out of the gate. And again, you know, most of my work has been in front of audiences or feeding people that are not vegan. And that's just the gift that's been given to me. And it means, for me, vegans always meant business. And so you can get in, it's inclusive. It just needs, as my dad would say, to be delicious and balanced with all else. So what I made was, in my culture, we celebrate prosperity, a prosperity meal on the 1st of January. And so I took and created this course with, it was citrus, mustard rub, collard greens. So I didn't cook them, but I tenderized them with the acid and the salt from the dressing. We had marinated black-eyed peas, roasted sweet potatoes, pickled red onions, all from scratch. I advocate slow cooking. I advocate whole plant-based foods. You know, we're not going to survive on processed foods. So I think those of us here that have our restaurants that are in the kitchen and really slow cooking and really cooking like home cooked meals, we have the advantage to really show how much vegan means business. I also made a jalapeno cornbread biscotti. So it's all in the way, one, you present, and I think also the familiarity that we offer our customers or our guests. You know, it started out when you talk about marketing your business and the things that I've done that I've found successful. We started with Meatless Monday. Okay, so just take one day of the week. Start slow and see how you do. But I always ask people, tell me what your favorite dishes are. We start there, we deconstruct, so it's still familiar and comfortable. Now, depending on the marketing that you do, it's Tofu Tuesday or Tempeh Tuesday, Wellness Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, where we're talking about juicing and smoothies, Falafel Friday, Salad Saturday. You know, we're past, I think Aviva said, you know, having just salads and fruit served as dessert on menus and saying we have a vegan offering. I mean, I look at menus when I go with my friends and it's not a vegan restaurant. I get online, I look at what's there already. I look at the ingredients that are on the menu, not so much the dish that's on the menu. And then I can usually ask very nicely that the chef be able to put these things together, because I know it's already in stock or in their pantry and walk in. And then there's Sunday. And this is to say, this looks like food, right? It just looks like food. Would we agree? The burger in the past, for the past 3 years, I participated in food literacy, which works with 1st to 6th graders who usually know vegetables from a can. And so this advocacy is really to get them to relish and lean into, and there's in California a new bill that has been passed that all schools, United schools here, have a plant-based meal available for everybody. So I did beet chips, I got mushroom. You always get a vegetable that you're not aware of. There's 5 chefs that compete. First year I got cauliflower, second year I got collard greens, and this last year I did it was a portobello mushroom. Kind of cheated, took a pretzella bun. Nobody's going to complain about that. I cut the mushroom down to the size. I did carrot, ketchup, and then all the trimmings and these beet chips. Kids love color. They love vibrancy. If they're given the opportunity, they're going to grab for the colored food and the more natural food if they're given that opportunity to do so. So when we get back to then, you know, what's on the menu, we've already said it, but every course we have from appetizer to starter to entree to dessert, you can really lean in. And as a chef and as cooking all foods, past 2 decades, a vegan chef, it is really a lot of creativity that you have. I always tell people I'm an artist and I get to paint the plate. So as we're going to talk later, we're going to go through the courses. I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I'm just showing I've got hearts of palm ceviche. I have a non-couscous cauliflower and broccoli couscous salad that I did on a cruise that they wanted me to come on and curate a vegan menu, which was beautiful. And then I do either an avocado mousse or a coconut meat mousse. And then the polenta with the maitake mushroom and collard greens and gravy. So again, it's food, and it's food that's familiar. So in my closing, vegan means business from an ethical point for me, from an environmental point, and an economic point. We still have to understand our operation, our business. We still have to identify what's the menu we have right now and how we curate these things in. It broadens our audience scope. It broadens when people are looking, you know, online, and Yelp, our favorite platform, to see what menus are available, or if people are even looking for where they can take me to have a meal with them. You know, all my friends are like, well, where can we take Nina? I mean, they're kind of used to it now, and they're like, well, where does Nina want to go? Because we want to eat the food. But in closing, I want to say, yes, to me, vegan means business. We have to run it like a business and then identify where we can create our points of differentiation that bring our customers in and bring, you know, someone, think about it, a customer you already have, now they have someone that's gluten-free or lactose intolerant, whatever they've, you know, been diagnosed with, and now they're looking for somewhere to take their friends to feel good also. So thank you for the opportunity to share and speak from my seat and lens.
Thank you, Chef Nina. That was wonderful. I
Thank you.
am honored to follow you, a little intimidated and very hungry now. But when a plant-based menu gets served up at the White House, it's clear that vegan has gone from marginalized to mainstream dining trend. As both Chef Nina and Aviva said, one of the real drivers is wellness. In fact, among people polled, almost 70% said they were choosing plant-based food for health reasons. And there are studies galore that back this up, that enforce a plant-based diet offers better health outcomes. So that matters a lot. As Aviva explained, price point is a factor. So while the idea of 11 Madison Park offering vegan fine dining is terrific, it's not where you're probably going to go on a Wednesday night. People want more affordable plant-based options. And the great thing is, vegan cuisine is so affordable, you're guaranteed to reduce your bottom line. Among the top plant-based items that mainstream consumers like, plant-based milk, black beans, coconut oil. We have a special offer from Nutiva brand, so check it out on your virtual swag bag. Chef Nina mentioned vegan chips, colorful chips. Yeah, people love them. Also, cauliflower rice. These are not big ticket items, people. 6% of US consumers polled identify as vegan. That may not sound like much, but it is a 500% increase over a decade ago, when it was just 1%. So it just makes sense to give people what they want. Here's where it gets a little tricky. People say they want vegan for health, and they do. But vegan isn't just salad. It's not brown rice and tofu. Vegans want to have fun. They're excited about, here come more vegan celebrities. Lizzo, Billie Eilish, Peter Dinklage, Jared Leto. We want vegan food that's food and fun, like vegan dim sum, vegan cheese. Yes, it exists. Vegan wine, vegan pastries, and vegan chocolate. People flock to places like Slutty Vegan, which is a phenomenon out of Atlanta. Everything is vegan, but extremely decadent, and has names like Fussy Hussy. People want vegan macarons like Olivia Macaron, and vegan croissants like L'Artisan Bakes, which was voted the best bakery in Miami, period. And we want cocktails from places like Charlie Was a Sinner. This requires threading the needle a little. Here's how you do it. It starts with menu. People are still really concerned vegan isn't going to taste wonderful. Honeys, let us blow that misperception out of the water. I know you can bring it. Show diners what you got. Play up flavor, spice, mouthfeel, technique, but also start with the menu, because that's where it all begins. I'm a food writer, okay? And I can tell you words matter. I do not like the words tasty and veggie, by the way. Tasty tells you nothing, and veggie just sounds demeaning to vegetables. They demand respect. Also, health doesn't really sell a menu item. So even when something is robustly healthy, that's not how you sell it. You know what does? Descriptors, bring sensory elements into it. And if you want to add a little bit of kink, that helps too. And I mean things like whipped, charred, smacked, smashed, crushed, shredded. People love that. And you can be gentler too. Give people a sense of what they're going to be getting. Spice infused, creamy, crispy. And when you can talk about the relationship you have with local growers and local produce, Chef Nina is right. We want to know where our food is coming from. There is a trend away from commercial vegan plant-based meat. It is vegan, but it's processed, and we want to know what's in our food. Educate your staff. Gluten-free is not the same as vegan. Empower your kitchen. Chef Nina is right. Lean into what's already on the menu, the mouthfeel, the flavor. You can totally do this with plants. Some of the best for that, I'm going back to screen share, here we go. Mushrooms, Chef Nina was talking about elevating mushrooms. When Eric Repair is the keynote speaker for Plant-Based World Expo, and he's talking about mushrooms. Come on, mushrooms have arrived. They have actually already been here for a long time, but now they are getting their due. And go beyond a grilled portobello, people, that's very 80s. This is a Cajun mushroom po' boy from my local food truck. Next up, beans. I am culinary ambassador for the Global Pulse Association, and I think beans are the gateway to plant-based dining. Every culture has a bean dish. They're delectable, they're versatile, they're sustainable. They actually improve the soil they're grown in. They're super high in fiber, and they answer to that age-old vegan question, where do you get your protein? Beans are loaded with it. And they're in these loaded nachos too. Beans offer satiety. That's that happy mouth and belly feeling. Jackfruit, the largest fruit in the world. It can be up to the size of a Great Dane. So you get a whole lot of meals out of one jackfruit. It's sustainable. It's versatile, whether green or ripe, it soaks up flavor. Here it is standing in for pork in a Japanese tonkatsu. Jackfruit is also one of the very few fruits that has the thing people think vegans don't get, protein. mushrooms, beans, protein, jackfruit, have no cholesterol, no bad karma. They're accessible, they're affordable, and they have hidden savings. As we know, there's a link between a plant-based diet and better health. US healthcare costs last year were $43 trillion. That's 12 grand a person. I think there are better ways to spend it. The other hidden savings, this is not the sexiest slide, but it's an important one. Aviva mentioned the recent Oxford University study. This shows a plant-based diet has less environmental impact on every diet in every scope, less greenhouse gas emissions, less land use, less water use, less pollution, and less biodiversity loss. After this summer of intense heat, I think everyone should be aware of climate and care about making a difference. I can tell you your guests do. We are projected to hit 10 billion people in population by the year 2050, and we all need to eat. So whether you're flirting with adding vegan options for your business or at home, whether home is the White House or just, home, you can feed people well, feed them affordably, help them be well, and help the planet too. Embracing plant-based is good business, but it's just good sense. To sum up, consumers are drawn to vegan for health, but they also want a good time. And vegan celebrities and high-performing vegan products means it can totally happen. So health, fun, give people both. Which takes us to our Les Dames First Vice President, Kathy Gold.
Helen, before we move on to Kathy, I just wanted to share from the chat a great
goody.
question. Someone wants to know, is there any consensus on establishments using the term vegan versus plant-based? This person finds vegan can turn folks off. Aviva offered a great response. It's an unsettled debate, but studies that she has seen say non-vegan consumers are more drawn towards plant-based than vegan terminology and more likely to choose those items. So maybe you would like to add to that.
I think anything that gets people to lean into plants is good. Frankly, I don't care if you call it Fred, but whatever makes you comfortable, whatever you feel is going to work for your brand too. It all starts with just getting people a little more accustomed to it. As Chef Nina said, it's all good food.
If I can add quickly, I think it's presentation, because when I showed my food pictures, when I use them in brochures, when I'm talking about and I say vegan and the picture is up, I mean, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So while I've looked at studies too, and it is a constant debate, I mean, some people say vegan, people want to know that, maybe if they're looking for health or animal type things, and it just depends, and you have to kind of hold your own audience. Just make it.
One more question. Somebody wanted to know what chocolate is not vegan. I assume most chocolate has milk or milk solids in them.
I'm going to get to that.
Okay, perfect segue. Perfect segue.
Very clearly.
I'm going to be talking about ways to incorporate plant-based and vegan, so I've mentioned both of those things, into your daily lives. We've all heard a couple of really great books, Eat Food, Not Too Much, Mostly Plants, which is a Michael Pollan, and then Vegan Before 6, which is a Mark Bittman book, talking about ways that you can really segue very, very easily into a more plant-based world. I've been vegan since my daughter was 13. She's now 30, and she was the driving force behind it. And we were vegetarian for a while. And then when you start to think about it, you need to just make that very tiny leap because it makes all the sense in the world. And in your kitchens, it's really about being prepared for making some changes that are really pretty easy. And you can make the changes because of ethical reasons, for your health, for the environment, for animal rights and welfare, or all of the above. So lots of different ways. So this is our gateway foods into, and I'll call it a plant-based life, and you can make the determinations. I will say though that when you start to do this, be prepared for some pushback, for some questions, maybe even a little snark from your family and friends who are wondering if you have suddenly gone, that word we don't like, woke. But it really is all about just making a couple of changes that might make sense to you. Be flexible. So these are some of our favorite plant-based sources of protein. They're in your house already. It's all of your fruits, all of your vegetables, especially mushrooms and things like that, that are already filled with protein. And if you feel as if you need an additional dose, everyone says, where do you get your protein? This is where we get our protein. And it's freekeh and kamut and farro and quinoa and other proteins such as tofu and tempeh and seitan and nuts and beans and of course mushrooms, which is my favorite. I could eat mushrooms and beans all day long. And in fact, I do. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have some sort of beans and greens as one of the main meals in my household. Usually it is cannellini beans or it's black beans, my favorite, and also garbanzo beans, chickpeas. When you are cooking those chickpeas, don't you dare throw away the bean water that you've cooked them in. We're going to reduce that. And here's dessert. Fran can talk about that later. This is whipped aquafaba, which is the water you get after you've cooked your beans. The best one to use is when you're making chickpeas, garbanzo beans. So you can torch that. It's marshmallow. There's your marshmallow fluff. We always need dessert. These are a couple of things. This is what vegan food looks like. I was looking for photos. I was looking through my files saying, I wonder if I have any photos of tomatoes. And there were 1,565 photos of tomatoes, especially this time of year. I'm going to eat them 3 times a day, and you should too. So maitake mushrooms, this is on a bed of polenta. All this beautiful char, which gives you tons and tons of flavor. You're absolutely not going to miss anything. This is meaty and chewy and vibrant and filled with just delicious flavors. Dips, chips, who doesn't love a good dip? Think about the flavors that are in the favorite things that you either eat when you're watching a game or your favorite Bravo show on television. So all those same flavors are easily translated into vegan menus and vegan dishes. So your 7-layer Tex-Mex dip, you can even have cashew cream or a different kind of vegan sour cream. There are tons and tons of beautiful vegan cheeses available. One of my favorites is Tuscan white beans with blistered tomatoes. Of course, who doesn't eat hummus and baba ganoush, guacamole? Caramelized onions are a staple in my household. They have that deep, rich, caramelized sweetness to them, plus a little bit of crunch if you leave them go long enough. All sorts of spice dips that we can use. Sauces, I used to teach sauce classes, and instead of the traditional sauces such as a bechamel and my absolute used to be favorite sauce, béarnaise, you can have chamula, chimichurri, basil vinaigrette, salsa, tahini, peanut sauces for all of your dishes. This is one of my favorite things. This is the time of year for this. This is basil oil. It's 2 ingredients. Everybody can make this. Looks like melted emeralds, liquid emeralds, and smells like summer. Just drizzle it on everything. It's just fantastic. Green tomatoes. My green tomatoes in the market, I live so far north that it came with a little kit to tell you how to deep fry green tomatoes, as if we didn't know that. I'm from the South, so I already knew that, but it tickled me that there was a whole kit for it. This is one of my family's, we call it the everything soup, and it is something I used to teach in knife skills because we slice and dice, mince and chop, chiffonade, absolutely everything, and into this soup pot it goes. Tomatoes, you can see cannellini beans, make huge batches of everything. It freezes and it's just what you're going to eat. I eat this for breakfast. It's just that good. Then we have our spices and seasonings that are going to give you a really big, powerful punch for anything that you're going to be eating. So smoked Spanish paprika, It's dolce, sweet, or you can buy it picante, which is my favorite, which is sort of an explosion in your mouth. It's very, very spicy. Who hasn't a jar of chili crisp at this point in their refrigerator? Of course, everything but the bagel goes on everything, including the bagels. So on all of your roasted vegetables, it can be in your pasta, it can be on your morning sourdough toast, whatever you want. Sriracha, if you can find it. I know there's a shortage right now. And tahini, which is my absolute favorite thing to dip my fruit into, or even cucumbers or jicama or something like that for a fantastic snack. So we want to be thoughtful and mindful of the things that we have in our kitchens. Give yourselves a little break. Don't be so wedded to it. We say it's, for my family, it's not a religion, it's a choice. And so I have a wonderful dear neighbor who is a magnificent bread baker. And when she makes me a croissant, or if she makes a palmier, I'm going to eat it. Even though I know that it's got butter. Although she has made it with vegan butter and has deemed it absolutely fantastic. It's not her first choice, but I'm going to eat it. If you want a piece of cheese, my goodness, eat it. It's, as I say, it's a choice, not a religion. So just a lot of the food that I've had recently that has been just so delectable. This is vegan. This is what food looks like. As Chef Nina said, it's food. This is a beautiful gazpacho. And here are some really fun things if you need some junk food. All of these foods are accidentally vegan. So Doritos spicy sweet chili chips, Fritos, fruit by the foot. I don't know if any of you are TikTok watchers, but there was a craze a couple of weeks ago where you took and unfurled your fruit roll up, added some vegan, well, they didn't, but you will, vegan ice cream or sorbet, and roll it like a burrito in about 30 seconds. It is frozen solid and gives you the most satisfying, absolute crunch in your mouth of all of that beautiful frozen dessert and the chewiness. It's just great. Ritz crackers, Smarties, if you're up in Canada, we don't really have them here, graham crackers and chocolate, a lot of chocolate. Fran will get to that. Hydrox cookies, which is really interesting, and Swedish fish. We always want to look at labels, although I have seen this is vegan on produce lately. A package of organic Honeycrisp apples had a vegan sign on it. We know this. This is all marketing, which is absolutely clever if they're going to be jumping on the bandwagon. Yes, it really does work. There's a company that has tiny itty bitty little cupcakes. They've been in New York. They ship worldwide. And recently I saw We Are Vegan with the most sensational looking cupcakes ever. Well, they've had vegan offerings for a good 5 or 6 years, but they want to let you know that they do. So why not? So as I said, read labels. Oreos, by the way, are also accidentally vegan, but if you look at that label, they have all sorts of things you don't necessarily want to eat. This is a pretty clean product and it's pretty. So you might like to choose that. So just give it a try. My daughter and I say, if we're in a restaurant and they don't have anything other than a salad, we say, with any luck, this isn't our last meal. And so we'll go home and have something that we have in our refrigerator or our freezer or in our pantry. We're prepared. And if anybody wants to know any of the products that I use, such as the beans I use are from Rancho Gordo. For my tahina, I use Som Tahina, who have given us a really beautiful offer. A lot of my Indian spices and dal come from Indian as apple pie. And she's also given us a really nice offer. So questions, you can always contact me.
Thank you, Kathy. We're going to finish with some sweetness from Fran Costigan.
It's dessert time. Some people have dessert first, and we're not going to do that today. So this is chocolate pudding, veganized, very basic desserts. People love them. All you have to do here is swap out the milk. For holidays, we've got a matzah crack, just swap out the butter for vegan butter, and a bûche de Noël. Vegan wedding cake business is absolutely booming. So caterers, planners, take note. This is my chocolate cake, and it is a 2-bowl cake. It's been made by pastry chefs at Google and pastry chefs at IBIE, the big bakery school. So now you already have heard what vegans don't eat, so I am not going to go into that. You know, it's dairy and eggs, I hear. What about free range? No, no eggs. Gelatin, swap it out, use agar. Sugar, what makes sugar vegan? Table sugar, cane sugar that you find in the market, white sugar, is processed through bone char. So you want to use, excuse me, a vegan sugar, also seen as organic and fair trade. And these are readily available. This photo was at a La Dame Philadelphia 35th anniversary party. We have a potluck. I brought my big orange bunch and it went over very well. Here are Dames Esther McManus, Grand Dame Esther, and Kathy Gold and myself at Puratos Corporation's headquarters. Puratos is a B2B company, international company, and they have gone heavily vegan, and their products are fair trade and ethical, and their chocolate is wonderful. So I want to talk to you about dessert trends, and that is clean foods, organic ingredients, wholesome, use whole grains. As Ellen is, we know that whole grains are good for us. Traceable, ethical ingredients, foods that fight climate change. This is the Ebinger's blackout cake, actually, and it's just cake and chocolate pudding. So nutritional benefits: dark chocolate, less refined sweeteners, fiber-rich foods, the microbiome, botanical elements, herbal infusions, savory elements go beyond carrots and zucchini. Eggplants and mushrooms in dessert are a thing. Functional spices and herbs, and the so-called superfoods. These are trends, at least a percentage of whole grain flours instead of 100% AP. Use whole wheat pastry flour, don't use whole wheat for dessert. Heritage wheat and grains, gluten-free mixes, vegan, can be gluten-free. It is not necessarily gluten-free. So let's get that straight. Oat, coconut, sweet potato, green rice and rice, green banana and rice flours. Less sugar, but we are making desserts. We are making brownies, not brown bread. People want less sugar though. And alternative sweeteners, the flavor sugars, coconut, maple, dehydrated cane juice. Okinawa black sugar is delicious. Maple rice sorghum syrup, Ceylon, which is date syrup, coconut and agave nectars. You may have seen the news from the World Health Organization warnings on stevia and derivatives. Excuse me, I just got so dry. Now, less fat in desserts is something that people are looking for. These brownies are made with some prune puree. And I see Lynn Bono is on the webinar, and Lynn has served these brownies. She has them on the menu at her wonderful catering company. Tahini nut and seed butters, cleaner fats. Plant-based functionality, plant milks and creams, yogurt, tofu, nut creams. Now, I think about allergies as well. So I am always assuming there will be soy avoiders and nut allergic. Oat milk is my savior. And I think oat milk is just, it's so wonderful in desserts. Fats, you have liquid, solid, semi-solid. Sweeteners, again, make it vegan. It's so easy. That's easy to find. An egg replacement, there is no one size fits all. A combination generally yields the best results. But when I was coming into this market 30 years ago, we didn't have the ingredients that we have today. So I looked at depression desserts, baking powder, baking soda, and vinegar, and that works really well. There are many quality vegan butters. They're non-hydrogenated. As far as I know, you need to use the higher fat butters for laminated doughs. You want to taste and test to find what you like. When it comes to subbing vegetable oil, which works beautifully in desserts, keeps them moist. For dairy butter, use 3/4 to 7/8 of the amount. I like sunflower oil. I think it gives the desserts a really buttery taste. Grapeseed oil, extra virgin olive oil. If you're using canola oil, make sure that is organic. Otherwise, it is genetically modified. What about gels? Agar replaces gelatin. It has been used for millennia. Always hydrated, always test it because strengths vary. Powder is 3 to 4 times as strong as the flakes, and you use it beyond making gels. When you use it in combination with a starch slurry, you've got your creme brulee, you've got your lemon curd, all kinds of things, set frostings. Ground flax and chia plus liquid gives you binding, doesn't give you leavening. These photos, by the way, are from my students, and many of them are non-vegan chefs who just know that they need to offer vegan desserts. Aquafaba, which Kathy mentioned, eat your chickpeas and save the liquid. This is a baked Alaska. The Aquafaba torches beautifully. S'mores, mousse, baked Alaska, lemon meringue pie. Now, croissant, macaron, entremont, everything. This is from Star Chef Carolina Malia, who has given us a discount. Isn't that correct? And this is the bakery that was voted best in Miami. You've got vegan breakfast treats, muffins and overnight oats, French toast, biscuits, butter, and jam. For lunch, you can do a drop biscuit with no sugar added. These are all things that you can put on your menu. Almost everything freezes, so you can have them at the ready. For your health people, load up with fresh fruit. Dinner or special occasion, who doesn't like pie? A beautiful layer cake that is a gorgeous, very fancy Black Forest cake, and cookies and cream, and a simple chocolate cake with raspberries for the summer. And I like to do glazed cranberries for the wintertime. I like to do a seasonal situation. So I'm going to stop this share and talk to you about what makes chocolate vegan. So I have a whole bunch of chocolates here. Now, the thing is, you want them to taste good, right? So you've got to do some tasting. What chocolate in and of itself is vegan, but vegan chocolate is the sugar in the chocolate, oh my God, is vegan. So you want to look at the label. Beyond that, most consumers are looking for chocolate that is vegan and that is fair trade or ethical as well. So this is from Trader Joe. This is from Aldi. There are brands galore, and there are commercial brands as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Fran. Now, someone had asked about the virtual swag bag and our plant-powered menu. Those and a link to a PDF of vegan resources should have all been there for you when you received the link for this event. And we're going to talk about the menu. What we had really hoped was that we could all actually be together and you could smell what's been going on in our kitchens and better yet taste. but we have done what I hope is the next best thing.
Ellen,
Yes.
Bonnie has asked which vegan chocolates are best for baking. That may be in the resources you sent, but wondered if you wanted to make a couple of, or Fran wanted to make a couple of recommendations.
Yeah, I tend to use a high percentage chocolate because the higher the percentage, and I'm talking about a chocolate with vegan sugar, the higher percentage, the lower the amount of sugar. So there really are almost uncountable brands. You want to taste it. I suggest that the right chocolate to use is the one that tastes good to you right out of the package, but you need to stay within the percentage that's listed in the recipe. So my truffles, for example, tend to say 70 to 72%. But Bonnie or anyone else, if you want a list from me, I'll be happy to send it to you.
Okay, so dinner. We have each contributed a recipe. Aviva, and we're starting with libation because why not? Vegans like cocktails, vegans like to have fun. And Aviva, oh, somebody asked why wouldn't drinks be vegan? Wine's made from grapes, spirits are made from grain for the most part. As with sugar, it's in the filtration process. There can be animal products that you might not even be happy about for an omnivore. There are there's some articles about what goes into your wine and spirits on the vegan resources page. And Vegan Wine has also offered a terrific discount through our virtual swag bag. But Aviva, I'm sorry, talk to us about this gorgeous drink.
I think hopefully it speaks for itself. I just love making cocktails. Most cocktails are vegan. I really like to do things that are fun and seasonal. And this one has the added advantage of using some healthy fruit. So might as well get a little bit of fruit and fiber and vitamins with your cocktail. So I think just, what I can say about this is just have fun. There's so much we can do if you stock your house and your kitchen with wonderful vegan ingredients, or you just slowly swap them in. There's nothing that you can't make. So this is a peach, what do we call it?
Peach basil.
A peach basil daiquiri, right? So I love throwing fresh herbs into my cocktails, into my smoothies. I guess this is sort of a smoothie, an evening smoothie maybe. And so you can blend a little bit of fresh basil right in there, and or make a basil simple syrup and blend it all up, and you will have something delicious to go with the meal that these amazing chefs have prepared for you. So I don't think I have much to say that other than just follow the recipe or get creative with it.
Chef Nina, who elevates the mushroom, talk to us about this.
Yes, I like to elevate the mushroom, and I like to, I already said familiarity, and there are a lot of people that will go, well, what about seafood? And because I like to, again, do a lot of scratch cooking, and, when you need to buy those things that are already made, that's wonderful. But I really am a proponent of things that people already know and things that are whole foods. So here we have the royal trumpet mushroom. And in this case, I took off the cap and preserved it for other uses. And then I took the stem, and you look for the largest ones you can find, and you want to get, the same size. And then I just took one of my pastry rings and I cut it so it resembles calamari. And you can either marinate it. I have the recipe there that says everything, but I also, instead of, this is gluten-free because I use flax flakes as my batter. You can do it, otherwise with breadcrumbs or however you'd like to do it. And I actually did this. These are raw vegan, so I dehydrated them. But in the recipe, I talk about how you can bake them. Because I try to, again, a lot of people that I work with that are not vegan are coming to me for health food. So I want to make that point that, you know, when we're talking about vegan means business, a lot of people also associate veganism or vegan diets with health food. So that will kind of be a default. I was 2 months ago at an art museum exhibit. It was called The Cookout. And again, I was the only vegan chef, but the vegan meal, the vegan offering sold out first. And it wasn't because there were a lot of vegans there. And this was like a paid event for the food. So here I just seasoned, you know, I've got my Old Bay. You can make it from scratch or use it because you want to use those same ingredients that you would find in something like calamari. I already said this weekend I'm doing a hearts of palm ceviche. And so these things tend to kind of make people go, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know you could do that. And the trumpet mushroom really has that texture like calamari. So we're looking at all elements, not to try to trick someone to think it tastes, but knowing which mushrooms to use. Hearts of palm, a friend of mine said, can I make fish tacos for her? And I did it with hearts of palm and she was really blown away. And then I've also given you a recipe for your cocktail sauce, because that's what goes with it. The lemon's there. I also did a tartar sauce, but this, I think, speaks volumes to what you can do. And it's beautiful on a menu. And I haven't had anyone say they haven't liked it. And again, it's inclusive because of the ingredients I've used to avoid the top 9 allergens. When I worked in the healthcare organization, that was something we really had to work with. So tree nuts and, you know, gluten-free. So there's a lot of things. It's not just all vegan ingredients. We know this are acceptable. You have to be conscientious of these things. But for a restaurant that offers a lot of seafood items, it can really be done well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chef Nina. So
Ellen, I'm going to pass something from the chat. Tracy Stuckrath has offered a site called Barnivore, B-A-R-Nivore,
yes,
to find vegan spirits, wine, and beer.
it's true. It's fantastic too. But also check out a special offer from Vegan Wines, which we have in our virtual swag bag. Women-owned, fantastic organization. Okay, so we have these crunchy, gorgeous mushrooms from Chef Nina, and it sort of has a sunny Mediterranean feel, as does Chef Kathy's recipe. So I'm thinking, okay, how are we going to go from app to main? And knowing how I feel about beans, I did a French lentil salad. This is super easy, super affordable, pantry-friendly ingredients. Dried beans keep in your pantry forever, and fridge-friendly ingredients, celery, carrots, and it's quick to make. In fact, I'm probably going to make it for dinner when we get off. But what makes it really terrific is that it gets a little French style and chicness from a Dijon vinaigrette. It's very easy. It feels bright and fresh in the mouth. It's got crunch. It's got a sort of melting creaminess from the lentils. It's fun, and it adds, it's a little bridge into Kathy's dish. So let's talk.
I'm not sure that I'm quite finished with that lentil salad. That looks so good. And I love to take that and wrap it in romaine leaves. Oh, it's just the most delicious taco, if you will. So this is a ratatouille, very free-form lasagna. This is roasted vegetables. I roast sheet pan after sheet pan of vegetables. They freeze magnificently, so you always have this ready to go. This is really good, hot, cold, room temperature, so extremely versatile. Take your big pasta sheets, and I like to do a semolina pasta because it doesn't have eggs in it. There are a couple of national brands that you can find, or if you have a pasta shop that will make semolina big sheets of lasagna, that's even better because you just have to kind of dunk them in boiling water for just a very few minutes. This comes with, in your recipe package, a golden tomato kind of more of a broth than a sauce if you want to strain it and just pile it up. And you can use some of that basil oil that I showed you earlier to drizzle over the top of all of it. My daughter used to send me a picture of her dinner every single night, probably for the 2 years that she was in Los Angeles. And every single night, her dinner looked exactly the same with very few alterations because she's a batch cooker. So she'll batch cook vegetables like this. She'll batch cook a couple pounds of different beans throughout the week. And then she always has her broccoli and her Brussels sprouts and all of those things. And sweet potatoes, which are another fantastic thing to have hanging around. They really do last for a long time. So there you have it. Couldn't be any easier. And this is something, make lots, have it for other meals, repurpose.
Thank you, Kathy. Fran and I were talking about what she wanted to do for dessert, and this is a wonderful fruit season, but she knows what everyone likes. Fran, take it away.
Everyone, maybe a few people I've run into who are allergic to chocolate, but basically this is what people want. I just want to say about Kathy's dish. Kathy lives 2 floors below me, and we get to run up and down those stairs and share food. I have had that dish and many others, and just sensational. So in the way that Kathy and my colleagues here have been talking about making enough and batch cooking, I would say that applies to desserts because, again, this cake is very simple. It's AP flour, whole wheat pastry flour, cocoa powder. Now, you don't throw out the pastry rules when you're doing vegan desserts. We want a really good result. So we want to use quality ingredients. We want to use the correct ingredients. I need alkalized or Dutch processed cocoa powder for this cake. I want to use a really good quality one of the higher fat ones. 22 to 24%. The sugar is vegan cane sugar. If I'm making a cake for a particularly health conscious person, I might use all or some coconut sugar, which people tend to like. And that's in a way a brown sugar sub. So it's very nice. So that's it. Baking powder, baking soda, salt. I use oat milk, again, because I am concerned about allergies, and a liquid fat, which makes the cake very moist, less fat, but enough so that it's moist. I like an extra virgin olive oil or sunflower oil. And then vanilla extract. There's nothing weird here is really what I'm saying. And apple cider vinegar, and that's going to make the cake rise. You make this cake, put it in your freezer, freezes beautifully, defrosted, unwrapped, and a ganache, a simple ganache, can be as simple as plant milk and a really good tasting chocolate, little bit of olive oil for shine, and it's good to go. Loaded up with raspberries, it's a wonderful cake. If you want a 2-layer cake, double the recipe. But it's 2 bowls, pantry ingredients, delicious chocolate, and you're good to go.
So, what are you guys going to have for dinner?
I will say that everybody's heard about girl dinner. It's all the rage the last couple of months. I would say that I would take Nina's beautiful mushrooms, those lentils. I would put everything all on the same plate and just eat it all at once. It all looks so amazing. And these are the kind of foods that we eat every day. So this is vegan.
I think that's really important to say. These are foods that we eat every day. There's nothing odd about it. I'm sitting here munching on chocolate, to be very honest.
Well, wow. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Chef Nina, Kathy, Aviva. Wow. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for participating. Thank you, Les Dames DC. Do we have any more questions? This is getting down to the wire here, and we want to make sure we have addressed everyone's questions, concerns. We've had some good ones.
I just wanted to make a mention, there were a lot of questions about why isn't wine, why aren't cocktails vegan necessarily? I've always been a Campari girl since college, and in the olden days, that red color in Campari used to come from the bodies of a certain insect. So, and they stopped doing that, I think maybe around 2006. Although I wasn't vegan in college, it did cross over into my life thinking about ingredients. That color now comes from artificial ingredients, artificial dyes. I don't know that that's much better, but at least it's not animal bodies creating that. So there are different things that are in foods that we might want to take a look at. And as I said earlier, absolutely read labels. There are breadcrumbs that people use a lot, like panko breadcrumbs. You would think, what's that got to do with bread? It's made with Japanese milk bread, and it is a dairy product. So there are all sorts of things that you want to be mindful of.
Well, if there are any other questions, otherwise I'm going to turn it over to Bonnie, but without burbling my thanks to everyone one last time.
And I want to thank you and everybody. It's been really enlightening for me. I'm not big on vegan anything, but my daughter-in-law is lactose intolerant and my kids have been vegetarian for ever since they got married. So this is all good for me to know. And I really, I appreciate it. And I do have one bit of business, Les Dames business, before we all check out. I don't know how many of you are in the DC area or can get to the DC area, but on Saturday, September 30th, Les Dames DC is presenting almost a full day of extravaganza of fun and learning called Bringing It to the Table. Talk, taste, and transform. It's a seminar that we were sort of rebuilding after and rebranding after years of COVID and post-COVID that we used to have every 2 years. So we're kicking it back up again. It's going to be held right downtown on the Metro line at the National Union Building and it starts at 9:30. It's over by 3:30. I believe there's going to be an Uber offer if you don't want to take the Metro. Parking is kind of funky in that part of town. It's Gallery Place. And there will be tickets available online and all the information about the various panels and sessions, hands-on, there's DIY fermentation, there's cooking demos, and there's a lot of really good conversations about what's happening in food insecurity and all kinds of stuff. And that will be live on the Eventbrite as of August 15th. And if you're not a member, I'm going to put our info email in the chat. It's just info@lesdamesdc.org, and you can be on the list to find out about all our information. Really want to appreciate you spending the time with us this evening, and we hope you can join us on September 30th. Thanks very much.